She hasn't called. She hasn't texted. And yet, something tells you she's still thinking about you. Not every silence is a goodbye. Sometimes silence is her way of waiting, quietly hoping you'll make the first move without having to ask. But how do you tell the difference between true distance and silent expectation? In today's video, we're breaking down 11 clear signs she's waiting for you to reach out. These aren't surface-level cues. They're emotional signals, subtle invitations rooted in her own internal conflict between pride and vulnerability. As a Stoic man, this isn't about chasing. It's about awareness. It's about reading the signals without being ruled by them, knowing when silence calls for stillness and when it demands a response. Let's dive in. Sign number 1. Her silence isn't cold. It's calculated. Sometimes silence isn't distance. It's a signal. If she's gone quiet but hasn't blocked you, cut ties, or erased the digital trail of your presence, she may be hoping you'll reach out. A Stoic man doesn't panic. He reads between the silences without letting them shake his center. Her quiet might feel like rejection, but look closer. She's not closing the door. She's stepping back to see if you'll walk through it. There's a difference between a woman who's truly done and one who's creating space to see what you'll do in her absence. She hasn't blocked you. She hasn't unfriended you. She hasn't deleted your photos. She just stopped talking, stopped initiating. And now you're left wondering, is she over it or is she waiting? Here's the truth most men miss. This kind of silence isn't emotional absence. It's strategic space. She wants to see how you'll respond when the noise fades. Will you chase? Will you fold? Or will you hold your ground? A Stoic man doesn't collapse under emotional pressure. He doesn't send long texts trying to fix something that hasn't even been clearly broken. He reflects. He waits. He responds, not to manipulate, but to remain in alignment with who he is. Remember what Epictetus said. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If her silence is a move, your reaction is your truth. Think about it. She used to message you every morning. Now, nothing. No good morning. No check-ins. Most men would panic. They'd fill the silence with desperate messages. But the Stoic man, he sees the change. He doesn't seek clarity where it isn't offered. He asks himself, what is this silence telling me about her? And what is it revealing in me? Her silence becomes a mirror, a test of patience, a challenge to your emotional discipline, a training ground. Because sometimes her silence isn't a farewell, it's a chess move. And if you overreact, you lose the game before your next move. But if you stay grounded, if you don't flinch, she'll feel that shift. Not because you flooded her inbox, but because you didn't lose your balance. That's when your silence speaks louder than any reply ever could. So if you're in that space right now, don't rush to fix what might not be broken. Don't fill the gap with fear. Just observe, reflect, and most of all, stay rooted in who you are. Let her silence be her move. Yours is to remain unmoved. Before we move to the next sign, ask yourself, what if this silence isn't punishment, but a prompt, not to react emotionally, but to respond from character? That's the real test. Have you ever faced this kind of calculated silence? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments, or if you're living it now, just type, I respond with presence, not panic. Let's keep the conversation going. Sign number 2. She leaves the door slightly open. She hasn't unfollowed you. She hasn't unfriended you. You're still there. She hasn't blocked you yet. That door, it's still cracked open. And maybe, just maybe, she's waiting for you to walk through it. But a Stoic man knows. Just because the door is open doesn't mean you have to walk in. This kind of silence, it isn't careless. It's deliberate. When a woman is truly done, she closes the door completely. Blocks, deletes, walks away and doesn't look back. But if she's still letting you view her stories, if she leaves an occasional like, if she's still there quietly, it's not by accident, it's a signal. A silent whisper that says, I want to be missed, but I don't want to say it. And this is where your discipline gets tested. Your mind starts spinning. Should I reach out? Should I say something? But you pause, you observe, you choose to respond, not from fear, but from strength. Maybe this is your chance to fix things. But this is where Stoicism steps in. Calm, clear, and unwavering. It reminds you, an open door isn't an invitation, it's hesitation. Don't mistake her mixed signals for your mission. You're not a code breaker, not an emotional detective. Your job isn't to decipher every subtle move she makes. Your job is to stay grounded, in peace, in clarity, in self-respect. If she truly wants to come back, she knows how to find you. But walking through a half-open door just because it's ajar, that's not strength. That's seeking validation. Say she stops texting for weeks, but suddenly watches your story late at night. No message, no context, just a quiet breadcrumb. The old you might have jumped on it. Hey, have you been? Or a quick reaction to one of her posts, just to restart the energy. But the man you're becoming, he feels the tug and lets it pass. He remembers what Epictetus said. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. Her hesitation, not your emergency. Her silence, not your cue. And her door, that's hers to fully open or shut completely. You don't push, you don't peek. You walk past it, head held high, because your path is not defined by someone else's uncertainty. So, if you're standing at that threshold, the door cracked but not open, don't let curiosity pull you into limbo. Let her carry the weight of her uncertainty. Let her feel your absence, not as punishment but as peace. When a man resists the urge to chase the unclear, he becomes unforgettable. That, my friend, is how you honour yourself. Her stories speak louder than her texts. She hasn't messaged you, but suddenly she's posting cryptic lyrics, old photos, quotes about missing something real. These aren't accidents, they're signals. But a Stoic man doesn't flinch. He listens with detachment, not desperation. Because if she truly wanted silence, she wouldn't be curating a digital trail of emotion. That carefully chosen lyric, it's not just a song. That photo from 3 summers ago, not just a memory. She's speaking, just not directly. It's communication without confrontation, a way to feel close without being accountable. And here's where most men go wrong. They respond, they reach out, they try to decode and reply. But the Stoic man, he sees the story and lets it pass. He knows these are her internal conflicts, not calls for rescue. Epictetus taught, we should concern ourselves only with what's within our control. Her cryptic posts, not your puzzle to solve. A Stoic man doesn't need acknowledgement to feel valuable. He doesn't chase breadcrumbs because they feel familiar. He observes without attaching to every emotional pixel. He keeps his peace while others project their confusion. So when her story feels aimed at you, pause. Breathe. Ask, does this need a response or just recognition? Because sometimes silence says, I saw it, but I didn't need to react. Her stories may speak louder than her texts, but your restraint, it speaks volumes without making a sound. Mutual friends keep dropping hints, Out of nowhere, her name comes up. Friends mention she's asked about you, or that she's been different lately. These aren't random. When people close to her start bringing you up, especially unprompted, there's usually a reason. Maybe a friend casually recalls a trip you two took, or says she's not quite herself these days. You weren't looking for updates, but somehow they found you. Understand this: when she doesn't feel ready to talk to you directly, she often speaks through others. Her friends become messengers, intentionally or not. Sometimes it's subtle, a shared joke, a curious question. Sometimes it's not subtle at all. She still talks about you, especially after a few drinks. Here's where men get it wrong. They hear this and think, it's my chance to reach out. They rush to fix things. But the Stoic man, he doesn't take the bait. He listens, not with hope, but with calm observation. Because just because she's thinking about you doesn't mean she's ready for you. When you're centered in your own peace, you don't rush back just because someone finally glances over their shoulder. You observe, you listen, but you keep moving forward. Your path is yours, shaped by your growth, not by someone else's uncertainty or subtle signals. So, the next time a mutual friend drops her name with that familiar tone, trying to gauge your reaction, don't get pulled into their quiet drama. Just smile. Say little. Let your silence do the talking. Because sometimes the stillness of a grounded man speaks louder than any breadcrumb trail she leaves behind. Let her wonder if you picked up the hint. Let her sit with the weight of your calm. Because when you don't flinch at the mention of her name, when you stay steady, that's when the message becomes unmistakable. You're not waiting for signs. You are one. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in that space where the whispers reached you before she ever did? How did you respond? Or better yet, how did you not? Your story might be the quiet clarity someone else needs in their noise. Drop it below. Or if you're staying silent, just leave this in the comments. I note the pattern, but I don't chase the signal. Number 5, she keeps you in her digital orbit. She doesn't reach out, but she never really disappears either. You see her watching your stories, liking old photos, popping up in your suggested friends or playlists. Coincidence? Maybe. But more often than not, it's intentional. A Stoic man doesn't chase signs, but he doesn't ignore them either. He doesn't lose hours scrolling, decoding every move, but he also doesn't pretend not to notice. When a woman wants to stay close without stepping back into your life, she lingers in your digital shadows. No direct message, just subtle signs. A random, like on a post from 6 months ago. A near instant view on every story. Comments on mutual friends' pages. Visible, but safe. It's a quiet kind of connection. Not bold enough to knock, but hoping the door's still unlocked. Here's the difference. A Stoic man doesn't react. He doesn't rush to respond the moment her name lights up his screen. He doesn't confuse presence for purpose, because he knows this. Attention isn't the same as intention, and being seen doesn't mean being valued. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." So you look inward, not toward her orbit, but toward your center. Let her orbit. Let her linger. Maybe it's comfort, maybe it's curiosity, maybe it's regret. But that's not for you to solve. Your mission is growth, to keep your peace, to not be led by digital breadcrumbs back into emotional confusion. If she's there, notice. But don't revolve around her. Stay centered. If she must orbit, let her. But don't let her gravity alter your course. Number 6, her energy shifts without contact. Gentler now, but still present, even from afar. A steady mind knows. Silence doesn't mean she stopped feeling. You don't see it in words. You feel it in the in-between. Maybe her playlist quietly echoes the past, songs you both knew. Maybe she posts less often, and when she does, there's a softness in it, like a faded reflection of when things felt whole. Or maybe, without any clear reason, you just feel her again. Like her presence is brushing up against your thoughts, light as a breeze. No calls, no messages, no grand signs, just a shift. And here's the truth. Energy never lies, even when she says nothing at all. Even if she keeps her distance, something within her is leaning in again. Not all reconnections begin with a buzzing phone. Sometimes they start with her spirit, quietly softening in your direction, even if she doesn't fully understand it herself yet. This is where most men make the mistake. They sense that subtle shift and rush in. They text, call, explain, chase, but a man grounded in Stoicism does the opposite. He feels the change. Yes, but he doesn't react. He remains still. He lets her energy move toward him, not to validate his worth, but to reveal her truth. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is the moment to remember that. Don't overthink. Don't analyze every post, decode every silence, or chase clarity where none is owed. Instead, observe. Hold your center. Let time and nature do what they do best. Unfold the truth without interference. If her energy is genuinely shifting, it will find its way to you, not through pressure or pursuit, but through gravity. The kind of gravity only peace and presence can create. So stay grounded, stay unmoved. Let her energy speak before her mouth ever does. Sign number 7. She brings up old memories, indirectly. It might be a cryptic caption under a photo of the coffee shop you used to visit. A song lyric you once played on repeat during a road trip. A vague post. Funny how life circles back. Beneath a picture of a place you once laughed together. To most, it's just nostalgia. But if you've stayed silent, if you've chosen space over reaction, these aren't coincidences. They're quiet echoes. A Stoic man doesn't mistake this for an invitation. He doesn't chase. He doesn't let his ego swell. He simply observes with detachment. Because Stoicism teaches us what's done is done, and what remains is only what we choose to carry forward. When she brings up the past indirectly, it often means the past is louder than her present. She may not be ready to say she misses you, but that doesn't mean she's not feeling it. Her way of reaching out may be subtle, not out of manipulation, but uncertainty. She may wonder if you've changed, if you've outgrown her, if you even still feel. And the truth is, you do remember, but you no longer need to relive it to prove you've healed. So let the memories come, acknowledge them, appreciate them, but don't dive in chasing where they might lead. Sometimes the strongest response to the past is stillness in the present. Have you ever seen this? When someone brings up memories not to reconnect, but to see if you're still listening? Drop your thoughts below. Just type, "I've seen the signs," because sometimes acknowledging it is the first step toward letting go. Sign number 8. Her newfound happiness feels performed. Suddenly, she's loud about her glow-up, her joy, her routines, her self-love, not for her friends, for you. It's not always about moving on. Sometimes it's about testing. Are you watching? A flood of curated selfies, quotes about freedom, hashtags about healing, group shots with strangers, captions that scream she's never been better. But something feels off. It's loud, yes, but not sincere. It doesn't land like truth. It lands like theatre. Because real peace is quiet, lived, not posted, felt, not flaunted. When someone truly finds themselves, they don't need an audience. But when the performance is aimed at you, when it's laced with subtext and silence, it becomes clear. It's not joy. It's a question dressed up as confidence. Do you still care? As a Stoic man, you don't orbit emotional theatrics. You observe, but you don't engage. You see the performance, but you don't step on stage, because your peace is real. And her performance, it's just noise. You're no longer playing a role in someone else's script. You're the director of your own story now. And while it's natural to feel something when someone you once loved seems to move on quickly, you have to remember, true growth doesn't beg for applause. It doesn't post for validation or dress itself up for social media. It happens in silence, in solitude, where the only witness is you. Let her perform if she wants to. Let her play the part of the one who won the breakup. But don't compete. Don't react. Don't try to prove your worth through comparison. That's not strength. That's not Stoicism. Your peace isn't performative. It's unshakable. You don't chase closure. You embody it. You see what she's doing, and instead of getting pulled into her emotional current, you ground yourself deeper. Because at the end of the day, it's not her public joy that defines your value. It's your quiet detachment. It's when you no longer check her stories, no longer scroll for clues, no longer wonder if she's thinking of you. That's real release. And ironically, that's when she feels it the most. So let her post, let her glow, but never forget. Peace that needs to be posted is often peace that hasn't yet been found. Number 9, she's still in your orbit. Maybe she still supports your work, likes your sister's photos, keeps a quiet tie to your circle. These aren't random gestures, they're subtle bridges. But a Stoic man doesn't rush to cross every bridge. He waits, he watches, he checks for stability. When a woman lingers in your world, even from a distance, it's not always coincidence. Maybe she doesn't text you anymore, but she reacts to your content. Maybe she shows up where she knows you might be. It's indirect, it's quiet, but it's not meaningless. Here's where most men fall. They take those small signals and sprint forward. She liked my post. Maybe she wants to reconnect. That's not awareness, that's projection, that's emotion searching for validation. The Stoic man doesn't leap, he listens. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Apply that. Observe her patterns. Notice the behaviour. But don't fill in the blanks with your own narrative. If she's still tied to your world, it means something. Maybe regret, maybe nostalgia, maybe she hasn't truly let go. But that's not your puzzle to solve. It's not your job to decode her signals. Your job is to protect your peace, to stay on your path, not drift onto hers. Because a connection isn't a commitment. A like isn't a lifeline. And a Stoic man doesn't follow breadcrumbs. He follows principles. Let her actions take root. If the bridge is real, it won't collapse just because you didn't chase it. Number 10, she's not moving on, she's paused. She hasn't dated anyone new. There are no signs of a fresh start, no new name, no energy that says she's closed the chapter. She says she's focusing on herself. Maybe she is. Or maybe the space she's leaving is meant for you. Sometimes silence isn't absence, it's anticipation. She keeps her world looking full, but leaves the door cracked. Just enough. She replies to stories with inside jokes, keeps mutual friends close enough to hear your updates. She avoids the places that were yours, skips the posts that feel too raw. Her life isn't moving forward because emotionally, She's still standing where you left her. But here's the difference. A Stoic man doesn't confuse her pause with an invitation. He doesn't assume her stillness is a sign to act. He understands that space must be respected, and that if she's meant to return, she will. Not with hints, but with clarity. Not with breadcrumbs, but with intention. Until then, you don't wait, you don't watch, you don't hope, you move, with grace, with purpose, with discipline. Because in the end, her silence may say a lot, but your stillness says more. Just because she's still emotionally connected doesn't mean he should return. A man of depth knows better. He understands that a meaningful connection must be rooted in shared values, not nostalgia. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what stands in the way becomes the way. Sometimes that emotional pause isn't a signal to turn back. It's a signpost urging you forward. Unless the relationship now aligns with your growth, your peace, and your evolving sense of self, revisiting it is a step backward. Yes, she might be waiting, but that doesn't mean she's ready. And more importantly, it doesn't mean you're obligated to return to a version of yourself you've already outgrown. The Stoic man doesn't retreat just because the past lingers. He listens, observes, and respects the silence, but he only re-engages if the connection mirrors who he's become, not who he used to be. Ask yourself, is she waiting for you or for the man you used to be? Because those are two entirely different doors, and only one leads forward. This is where truth meets discipline. Recognizing that she hasn't moved on is not the same as believing she's still right for you. Emotion pulls, familiarity tempts, but the Stoic doesn't react. He reflects. Does her silence hold space for mutual growth? Or is it just an echo of the comfort you once gave? These are the questions that define real self-respect. Before we continue to the next sign, take a moment. Have you ever felt her presence lingering, even in her silence? Drop your thoughts below, or if words escape you, simply write, she's paused, but I'm not stuck. Number 11, her pride speaks louder than her heart. She wants to reconnect, but her ego stands guard. She's waiting for you to make the first move. Not because she doesn't care, but because her pride won't let her be the first to bend. That's the paradox. She misses you, but not enough to lower her defenses. So instead of reaching out, she retreats into silence, letting pride do the talking while her heart stays hidden in the background. You'll notice it in the quiet signals. She watches your stories, likes that old throwback post, maybe even posts something vague, part confession, part dare. Some people don't realize what they had until it's gone. But here's where the Stoic man goes deeper. He doesn't take these emotional breadcrumbs at face value. He doesn't chase nostalgia or react to signs of longing. Instead, he asks, is this pride looking for validation? Or is it the heart truly reaching out? Because those are two very different things. Ask yourself this. Is her silence an invitation to reconnect, or a challenge to see who breaks first? Because there's a difference. One seeks healing, the other seeks victory. And if it's about winning, you're not reuniting. You're stepping into a tug of war where peace doesn't live. Epictetus once said, if someone provokes you, realize that it is your own opinion which provokes you. Her silence doesn't demand your reaction. It tests it. A Stoic man meets the world's chaos with stillness. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't rush to fix what lacks respect at its roots. If she's choosing pride over vulnerability, let her. That's not your burden. Your role isn't to decode mixed signals or endure emotional power plays. Your role is to remain aligned with truth, peace, and self-respect. If she reaches out with sincerity, you'll know. But until then, don't mistake ego games for emotional growth. Sometimes silence is the clearest message of all. Stay grounded, stay patient, stay true. So now that you've seen the signs, the real question isn't, is she waiting for me? It's, should I respond? A Stoic doesn't act from loneliness, nostalgia, or impulse. He acts when his values, purpose, and peace align. If reaching out honors your integrity, not just your attachment, then maybe it's worth it. But if you're only moving because the silence is uncomfortable, that's not strength. That's fear dressed as bravery. Read the signs, trust your intuition, and above all, honor your growth. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment with the sign that hit home, or just type Stoic strength to let me know you're walking this path with intention. Like, subscribe, and check out the recommended videos on your screen. Until next time, stay grounded, stay untouchable.